Welcome to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, inviting you to join the fight to end human trafficking.
Oh, give me eyes to see. Oh, give me strength to lead. You give me all I need. So give me courage to believe.
Each week, Abolition Radio sheds light on the darkness of modern slavery, celebrates the work of abolitionists who are fighting for freedom, and equips the church to engage in the work of justice with hope rooted in God's Word. Our goal is to see a radio audience become an army of gospel activists.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors, and the ones who still escape our eyes.
Now here's the host of Abolition Radio, founder and executive director of Love Never Fails, Vanessa Scott.
Thanks, Dave, and welcome to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. Well, we are in the studio. Actually, we are going to be joined by my partner in justice in just a moment. She'll be in the second session here, taking care of some DeVos business offline and working with her cohort there. So we'll have her on in just a second. But we are in for quite a treat today. We're actually going to be talking about different ways. Well, certainly Love Never Fails interpretation of how we can go and find missing and exploited women, men, and children in our communities. And we call that Project Look For Me. And I have in the studio with me the director of Project Look For Me, Miss Marie Rankin. Welcome, Marie.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. It's new.
Yeah. So thanks so much for being here. And then, of course, we have on the line with us someone who I've just come to know, actually, through Dave Niederhood, and I'm so grateful for the introduction. Cyril Rayan, who's on the phone from Resilience, and is joining us to talk about an application that his team has developed, which is called Tip Now. And this application is doing some amazing things, and actually we've been thinking about ways that we can use Tip Now as a vehicle to combat human trafficking and help us in this social justice fight. So, Cyril, very good to have you on the phone.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Vanessa.
Awesome. Well, so we're going to just kind of dig in, as we always do, to first understand exactly sort of what drew both Marie and Cyril to this fight, to this justice agenda. And so maybe we'll start off with you, Marie. How did you come in contact with this issue of human trafficking, and why are you passionate about it? And then, of course, maybe if you want to tell us a little bit about Project Look For Me.
Okay, I've come to this fight through doing my own searching for missing people. One was a local young lady named Sierra Lamar, and looking for her. And in that journey, I learned more about human trafficking, and come to feel that there's a lot of missing children that are sucked into human trafficking. And I wanted to find any ways possible that I could assist in finding them and bringing them home.
Yeah, and so I think it was 1 or 2 years ago that we came in contact.
It's been about a year and a half.
Yeah, and so if you've ever met Marie, she's usually has a Sierra Lamar button on her, and that has just really touched her very deeply, looking for Sierra, and we haven't given up hope, right? We're continuing that effort.
Always.
And so we're very passionate, again, about whatever the cause is, human trafficking or whatever. Restoring children to their families and to safety is so key to us, and we know that within 48 hours, a runaway or someone who is disconnected from their family members, 1/3 of those children will be recruited for human trafficking. So we know the risk is very high for young people that are separated from their family, right?
Exactly.
So you're actually also a forensic artist with a local police department, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So can you imagine that? Those of you who are listening, I just couldn't imagine how, blessed we were to come across someone who was already looking for a youth that, in my opinion, was highly at risk for human trafficking, having been separated from her family. And then for her to be sort of skilled at facial features and looking and drawing facial features. I mean, it's just tremendous to have someone like that to lead up a program called Project Look for Me, where we look for missing women, men, and children, in particular online, where facial features, you need to be able to be someone who can hone in on, eye shapes and skin tones and birthmarks and things like that, right?
Exactly. That's one of the things that I do have some training in as far as facial recognition. I'm learning more and more about it, continuing that. And that does pertain exactly to what we do at Project Look for Me, as far as going online and looking and matching up pictures, the family may have of a child that may not look exactly the same when they're online.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and we're going to talk a little bit about, for me, my experience having started this search and rescue practice, and some of the things that I really felt God did for me as I was being drawn to certain details, certain characteristics that I guess I didn't realize I pay such close attention to certain things, but certain moles or certain marks that just struck me as a connection to somebody we were looking for. And so it's really important that you're trained to hone in on that kind of stuff as you're doing this. And also that you have an appetite, you have your stomach, right? You have to have a stomach for what we're doing, because it's really hard emotionally, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I agree. The images they can be disturbing, they can be surprising as you're clicking through and looking, but it is so important to put that aside and be able to focus on actually the child that's missing and the individual that's in the image. That's
right. And then there's a whole component to what you're doing, which is interacting with parents, right? It's horrific, right? Personally, I've dealt with a couple of parents, and they're looking for their missing child, and they go to their local law enforcement office and they mark, they say my child is missing, and a flyer is typically, created. And what happens from there usually?
Well, when we create a flyer, we post it on our Facebook accounts and have everybody forward it as many places as they can. So we are developing that network constantly. Going on with the parent, there's never really feels like there's enough that you can do for them. But we do as much as we can. We are growing a group that we can get out and distribute the flyers by hand. We've done that in the Bay Area on BART and local areas as well. We had some success, and we continue to be blessed, and hopefully we'll be able to grow that some more.
Yeah. So how many women, men, and children have we rescued since we've started?
Well, we just had one, so I think we have 43.
Yeah.
I think we're at 43.
43 men. Oh, and I don't think we've rescued any men, but we've looked for one.
Right.
We had one case of a young man who was missing, who actually we never found, but we've rescued 43, right? Men, women, and women and children. Wow, that's just incredible. And so, we're going to actually bring this segment to a close here in just a second. But when we come back, I want to kind of talk about that facial recognition, the way that some of these activities that we're doing are now making their way into technology, and something that in the past could have, was only something a human could do. Now we can start to rely on applications or leverage applications or use applications to complement our work to find missing women, men, and children that perhaps are being exploited or abused or kidnapped, who knows what. But we'll be right back in just a second with another session of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
Trash bills weighing you down? At Case Industries, we specialize in lowering waste costs and providing trash consolidation and compaction services for multifamily properties, condos, and commercial shopping centers. Let us help you reduce operating expenses and increase property NOI. Case Industries, saving the planet, saving you money. Contact us today for a property trash and recycling assessment online at caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. That's caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. Case Industries, the property manager's friend.
Hi, I'm Sandra Herrera, CEO of Case Industries. I've found that many employers are looking for ways to help the community but don't know how. I encourage you to consider supporting Abolition Radio as a corporate sponsor. Love Never Fails offers all the resources necessary to help young women and men overcome the trauma of exploitation and abuse. And that's why I'm proud to have Case Industries supporting Abolition Radio.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. I am here now with my partner in justice, Bonita Hopkins.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, glad you're here. We were just kind of talking about, sort of branching now into this idea of using technology as a platform for finding missing people and potentially people that are being trafficked. And for those of you who are listening in the last segment, and those of you who were at Freedom Summit a couple of weeks ago, you probably heard from Brad Miles, just this stat, this kind of recurring stat that we keep hearing, which is within 48 hours, a runaway or someone who is separated from their safe family is at risk. 1/3 of those folks are at risk for being trafficked. So we know that if someone isn't being trafficked, it's very likely that they will be propositioned within 48 hours. So, needless to say, we need to act quickly. Yes. And that's the hard part, right? Yes. I think about Marie, poor Marie. There's been times, and just a reminder to listeners that we're all volunteers here, and right. So I'm calling Marie in the middle of the weekend. One time I think it was her husband's birthday, and I'm like, someone's missing, and she's like, oh God, honey, could you can we blow out your candles in like an hour, please? And he's so awesome. I'm just so grateful to him for being so supportive to his wife. And but it is a bit challenging. But together we're able to make it work. So, but there are technology innovations that are underway that will help us with this goal of ours. And so I wanted to just sort of invite Cyril Rayan on the call here to kind of tell us a little bit about how you got involved with social justice, and then of course, where you're at today, and tell us a little bit about Tip Now.
Sure. Tip Now was founded back in the year 2007, and the idea for the concept of Tip Now came about after the Virginia Tech shootings that happened in 2007.
My alma mater.
And, oh, wow. And Tip Now is an anonymous suspicious activity reporting system using texting, mobile app, email, and voice. And that's where the idea came to me that we need to create a communication platform with anonymity so we can get more tips about suspicious activity.
Yep.
And that's how we implemented Tip Now, and we have been very successful on college campuses. A few city police departments are using it.
Great.
But having talked to you and having heard about the trafficking issue that has been talked about in California, I had never realized that the trafficking issue was very big in California. So I was thinking about possibly applying a Tip Now-like technology in human trafficking where suspicious activity could be reported. And based on what you mentioned, that this has to be quickly resolved and quickly reported, mobile technologies are very fast, and if we can create a platform for human trafficking to report suspicious activity using texting and mobile app, I think it can be very valuable, where immediately the information can be sent out to relevant nonprofits or groups that are handling it. I think it could be potentially very valuable to apply Tip Now like technologies to human trafficking.
Yeah. So just, one of the things for everyone to sort of be aware of is what we're thinking of is, we know that we know that Cyril is already in speaking with college campuses and education outfits throughout in different areas.
Right.
And so if we could add in a human trafficking module, if you will, in the existing app, then we would be able to expand upon the footprint that it currently exists there in their, whatever local government agency that you might place your app in. And what might be very interesting to explore is creating a connector between you and, let's say, the National Human Trafficking Resource Center, where, there is a text Be Free, right? So you can text 233-733, or you can call 888-737-7888. Either one of those ways of connecting to Polaris could then be an avenue for a person to receive help or to receive tips, and then link back to agencies such as Love Never Fails. And so our thinking was, let's pull you and this footprint that you already have into this conversation, since your technology really has. I was just amazed when we met to learn about that scenario. Maybe you could share with the listeners the scenario that you shared with us about the college student or college situation that happened, where you had a report or a tip from a student that actually saved a life. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. This was at College of the Sequoias in Visalia, California, a couple of years back. Within 1 week of deployment of TipNow, there was a tip that came through on the system that there is gunmen on campus, and seems like there is a gun in somebody's backpack. So that's the tip that came through. The police chief saw that. Of course, it really alerted him to action, and he sent back a response on his SMS saying, tell me more, where is this person, kind of a thing. And it's a two-way anonymous reporting system, so there was an interaction between the police chief and the tipster, and obviously the chief did not know who the tipster was, even to date, but he was getting all this information. And he rushed to the quad based on the information he got from the tipster. And after 2 or 3 iterations, he got feedback from the tipster saying, you're standing right in front of him. And sure enough, he approached this person and found there was a gun in his backpack and arrested him. So,
wow.
So all these things happened in 7 minutes. And I think that's why this is so compelling, that TipNow can be a real-time security and safety tool in campuses, and not only in campuses, we can extend it to human trafficking.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I'm envisioning a student who may be overhearing another student talk about her boyfriend who's just purchased her X, Y, and Z, and all she has to do is sleep with, a couple guys, or maybe someone comes to school and they're beaten up and they don't feel like, they're afraid to go to the local, campus police or to the local police. And so they, the way that they can get active is by going on to this tip site, and I believe your application is actually built into their when that educational entity embraces TipNow, your application is built into their intranet, their suite of intranet applications. Is that right?
The way it works is we assign a texting phone number to them, a 10-digit number to
their campus.
Any agency.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And people then can text tips to that. And also we include their name on our mobile app. So that's how tips are collected. And people can call into that number or text to that number, use their mobile app. And there is also an assigned email address for that agency or campus. And people can use, the community can use the email to send in their anonymous tips.
And I just love this from a bunch of different angles. One is if you just text some, number, you call some number at the national level, like the National Human Trafficking Line, it will be very difficult to kind of hone in on where that text is coming from, geographically. But when you have a phone number that is associated with a college campus or a high school campus that people are texting, you know that it's locally relevant. And then you can kind of do some dual processing in terms of sharing that tip with the local law enforcement, but also sharing it with Polaris and other agencies that can engage other possible support systems that maybe could provide services for victims and things like that. So it's multifaceted in terms of the number of brokers or number of connections that you can create. And so I love that. I love that idea. And then, of course, labor trafficking is another scenario that comes up for me, as you're observing certain things in your community. I talked about it when we had Ruth Taub on a couple of weeks ago. I was sitting down and getting my nails done. And I asked the lady who was doing my nails, I asked her how she's paid. I was just curious, oh, gosh, there's not very much business today. Are you guys paid an hourly rate? Because there were like 5 ladies there and there was no business. And she's like, oh, no, we get paid per client. And, Ruth educated us that that's actually labor trafficking because they should be paid an hourly rate if they're sitting there. And so that could be, I could go onto my Tip Now application and make that report and get some help,
Absolutely. And one more thing I was thinking about, even as you were sharing that, since the National Human Trafficking Hotline does not have an app, we could actually potentially put together an app for them which has location information. So people using that app to send information to the National Human Trafficking Hotline will know where this tip is coming from in terms of the location.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I think they actually, I'm going to check during the break, but I think they may have launched an app. But I think that there's a great opportunity to make this a locally relevant, deployment, if you will, and maybe even a partnership. So in a second, we'll come back and we'll explore this a little bit more. And thanks for listening to Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Vanessa Scott with Abolition Radio, where every week we invite you to join the fight to bring an end to human trafficking. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, our nonprofit which is dedicated to the rehabilitation, education, and protection of youth involved or at risk of becoming involved in domestic sex trafficking. Our goal with Abolition Radio is to eradicate human trafficking in all forms, sex trafficking and labor trafficking locally and globally. We are excited to bring this program to KFAX as we will share stories of hope and opportunities to mobilize the body of Christ and turn this audience into an army of gospel activists who will speak up for justice and act on behalf of those who are trapped or recovering from slavery. Find us on Facebook at Abolition Radio or on the web at abolitionradio.org and join me each Saturday at 3 p.m. for an exciting episode of Abolition Radio right here on AM 1100 KFAX.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So, so during the break, we just took a quick look on the National Human Trafficking Hotline website, and we didn't see an app listed there, but I swear I heard that they were working on one. In any case, I would love to connect you, to connect Tip Now to Polaris and kind of encourage a little bit of collaboration there. I think that would be
great.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, cool. So you were mentioning also about Tip Now Social. Tell us more about that.
Sure. Tip Now Social is a social media monitoring technology for safety and security. And the idea for that came about when a cyberbullying death happened in Canada a couple of years back. And I was reading the articles on that and the analysis, and they were saying this was going on for 18 months, and then the suicide happened. And I was thinking, why are we talking about it after 18 months? And so anyway, long story short, I thought, why can't we build a technology that can monitor social media and alert the authorities or who are in the context of that monitoring that there is a red flag, and hopefully preventing suicides, hopefully preventing even trafficking.
Yes. It's interesting. So I think technology and even our organization, in some ways, hard to maybe hard for some listeners to believe, but we haven't been invited to all the parties out there. And part of the reason is that we often are inserting ourselves in areas where people aren't doing anything. And there are areas that we believe are really critical towards keeping people safe and valuing life. And in this particular area, with the 18-month delay, I think that you may, just being very realistic here, even with a technology event, a tip that comes over and says, you've got a problem. Even when we know we have a problem, we find that there are these tremendous delays in the process of providing services that actually make a difference after you become aware of a problem. And so that's why I think a partnership between, an organization like us and maybe even Polaris or, Bay Area Anti-Trafficking Coalition and a variety of people, Love Never Fails, all of us coming together really is key, because it's one thing to receive the information, but then who's going to do something about it?
Exactly.
And what is the follow-on? And I know you sit down and you work with people when you bring your application in. You work on, what are the connected procedures, right, to receiving a tip. But that is definitely something that we're very passionate. As we look at inserting a human trafficking module with you, we want to be sure that when people take the time to make the tip, that there's a process on the other side of that has the infrastructure and the and really pays, cares about it and has right, the resource for it. Here's a perfect example, right? So Marie, I was just turning over to you. So we had a situation, I want to say it was maybe 9 months. Yeah, it was in the June timeframe last year, where we had a young lady who was being held against her will, but she was intoxicated, right? And there were some drugs involved, and there was a perception by local law enforcement that maybe she wanted to be in that situation. Can you tell us some more about that?
Yeah, without giving any detail, generally it was not a advantageous situation for the family in that case, where the family was far away and they couldn't come, but they had other people calling them, telling them what was happening. And what happened was the young lady that was being trafficked was said to have been on drugs, and there was evidence by other people there telling the mother that she had been actually beaten up, and that the case was, if they just checked and just looked at her, they would have seen that she was on drugs and would have maybe assisted. But in that case, the police turned away and just left the situation as it was, because I think it may have been on viewed as something that was just a bunch of kids or just a bunch of young people getting high, and it kind of more of a nuisance than a real situation. Right.
Yeah, and that's been really hard for us, right? Because let's just be honest here, if you're caught up in trafficking, especially if you're further down the line in it, you're getting high and you're drinking to cope with the abuse that you're enduring, right? Yep. And people might make the mistake, the fatal mistake, really, of thinking, oh, they want to be there.
And just walk by.
And I'm just going to, they're high or they're drunk, or they're being unruly. They must like being that way. Right. And we actually just launched a PSA, and it shows a bunch of young, like third and fourth graders that talk about what they want to be when they grow up. And then the final young lady says, I want to be a slave of human trafficking. And it's, it's like, what? Every time I play it for someone, they say, what? It just hits them. It's, in the wrong way. And it's like, yeah, but you think that's wrong for her to say that. But yet there are a lot of people who believe that.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I was like, did I hear correctly?
Yeah. Rewind.
Yeah. I thought maybe she misspoke.
Right. Yeah. I want to be here. I want to be getting high and beaten up and being sold. And this is what I want to be doing. And, and so it's, no, that's not the case. And it's supposed to hit you that way.
Right.
And so in this situation, this young lady really wasn't being viewed as a victim.
Right.
And so we had to kind of push a little bit, right?
Well, in the end, it was she was able to, off and on, was connecting with her mother beyond, as people cycle through.
Yeah.
Cycle through, this is good, this is bad, and I'm getting hurt, and I want to go home. And what had happened was she called her mom and said, I'm walking away right now, and I'm going to this place. And we had done enough research through the social media to know that she was actually heading to a safe place. Mm-hmm. So then that's when we intervened and actually were able to pick her up.
Yeah,
and that was a
bring her
good
to a place
rescue.
of safety. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, and I think about how grateful that mom, that family was. Yes. To you, Marie, specifically. You were there with her and part of the team that comforted her, right, physically.
Right. Well, we drove all night to get her to a grandmother's house.
Yeah, which was a couple hours away, right?
Right.
Yeah. And she went on, just so you all are hearing this. This was like a glorious time for us because of the timing that she came back. She was allowed by her high school to graduate on the stage.
Right.
And that was a tremendous accomplishment for her parents, her family to have.
That was like a miracle.
It was a miracle.
Yeah.
And so, that old, no time to waste. Mm-hmm. There was no time to waste. Her life was in the balance.
Yes.
And there was a great opportunity for her. And again, I'm always saying God is in the middle of the thing because we ended up finding out later that someone that we were working with very closely had been her mentor, and we didn't even know that was somebody that he was mentoring. So it was an amazing thing, and definitely being led by the Lord. So yay, I love that. So in a second, we're going to come back and we're going to hear a little bit more about what you can do to get involved in this fight. If you are a tech head or, you are an investigative type, what are some ways, we need some help that we might need or that Cyril might need as he's developing his application, and how you can engage in this fight from the technology. And so we'll be right back with another session of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
This is Pastor Gary from Faith Fellowship in San Leandro. We are so excited about the launch of Abolition Radio every Saturday. And we have seen Love Never Fails under Vanessa Scott grow right here in San Leandro out of our church at Faith Fellowship. And now her ministry, God gave her a passion to get young people out of the sex trafficking and sex slave industry. And she has been doing a phenomenal job. Not only is it locally, but now it's going globally. In fact, I prophesied to her that God was going to use her to go nationwide, and that's exactly what's been happening. She is a woman with a vision, with a direction, and a passion to see these young people come out of this kind of arena. And to God be the glory. Join with her every Saturday on Abolition Radio to hear what she has to say and then become a part of what she's doing. AbolitionRadio.org. Love never fails.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So I want to talk a little bit about ways that, first of all, Cyril, if someone, first of all, is interested, let's say there's someone who's a local member of local government, an educational institution that would like to learn more and invite you in to tell them some more about TIP. Now, how can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. They can go to our website, me.tipnow.com, tipnow.com. There is a phone number on the right corner of the homepage, and they could reach our customer success or the sales, and we can have a conversation and do a presentation and a demo.
Awesome. Yay. And okay, that's great. And then, Marie, I know that there's some specific things that we're trying to accomplish right now. So maybe you can tell the audience a little bit more about what you need and what you're up to these days.
We're looking for any detective type skills or anybody that's got past law enforcement background that are willing to engage in help us look for children. Also, we're looking for people that are willing to help put together, help search online if you feel led in that area. It's a difficult thing to do, we know that. But if anybody's interested in doing that, please give me email me at marie@loveneverfailsus.com.
Yep.
And if any other way you can stay in touch with us is join us on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And just as I do post missing children throughout the Bay Area and the state that may be missing in our area, to be able to look for and to forward out to your friends and family, and that just keeps those extra eyes out there looking for missing children.
And our page is Project Look For Me, right?
Yep.
So like that page, and then you'll get all of the missing children ads that Marie posts there and her team posts there. Just a little disclaimer about joining the team. We are a little bit persnickety about who we add to the team, just because of the nature of the work. It's hard on you emotionally, spiritually, and we wouldn't want to set anybody up for failure. And so just be aware that as you come forth, there'll be an interview process, and we'll make sure that you are covered and supported as you get involved in this. We are looking for people who have technical skills, however, people who can, administrative skills, who can help us put together the endangered youth books. We're hoping that we can get some endangered youth books out to local law enforcement, so that when a parent comes and says that their child is missing, they can create that flyer, that track flyer that law enforcement usually creates when a child is missing, and they submit it up to the national. What is it? National NCMEC. Missing and endangered children, right? National Center
Missing and Exploited Children.
Missing and Exploited Children. Okay. And so when they submit it up to NCMEC, it's usually, that's kind of where everything ends, right? There's not necessarily a whole effort to canvass the neighborhood and look for this child. I mean, people have it on, they have it on their radar, the officers.
Right.
But there's not a whole lot going on to continue that search. And so we want to, again, be on the Facebook, publishing that flyer, but also have pictures of people that are being sold online that look like they are children, and published in an endangered youth book that is sitting at law enforcement, that a parent can then go thumb through and see, maybe my child is listed, is here. So those are things that you could get involved with. Also, cyber tip line. Have you used that quite a bit, Marie? When you from NCMEC, when we find minors online, we can actually make reports through the cyber tip line. Yes. So we want to encourage you to do that yourself. Go to the NCMEC website. Do you have the URL offhand?
I think it's NCEMC, I think, .org. NCMEC.org without the first E.
Yeah. And so go on there and look for Cyber Tip Line, and there will be a little section. It's very easy to do, that you can fill out with a link of where you see the ad, a description of why you think this is a minor that's being exploited, and that is actually data that is harvested and sent to local law enforcement. I've not seen, I don't know how it's funneled through, but at least you feel like you're you are making a difference.
If you see somebody online that you recognize as a missing child, and you go through their number, and you can call in and say, "Look, this is someone I feel is a match to one of your missing people." That is a much longer process and very detailed. So yeah, they've and so there's a lot of that one. After going through that, I felt like yes, they're doing something.
Yeah,
they are doing. It is an active.
They're applying.
Right.
Some policy to it. That's awesome. Okay, well, good. So we have several events going on in the community that we would like. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to mention to those of you who are listening before I forget is we did last year at Cal State East Bay. We participated in their forensics fair, right? And so if there are teachers out there, or the dean of students, I think, for the forensics department, if you will, invited us to come out and set up a booth and kind of talk to that audience. And I think you had a table there, right?
Yeah, we had a table. It was for it was an internship fair, I think, and it was focused on their law enforcement and forensics department.
Yeah, so this is a great way to get some hands-on experience in in forensics and in law enforcement. And so again, if you are currently involved in becoming criminal justice major or a forensics major at a local college, talk to your professor about us. We'd love to come in and speak with your class. We'd love to be a part of your internship fair. And so think of us as you are going and receiving your education, because we believe that this is an essential part of keeping the community safe, right? So, okay. So we have several events that we want to tell you about in the community, but we'll be right back in just a second with another session of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors.
Trash bills weighing you down? At Case Industries, we specialize in lowering waste costs and providing trash consolidation and compaction services for multifamily properties, condos, and commercial shopping centers. Let us help you reduce operating expenses and increase property NOI. Case Industries, saving the planet, saving you money. Contact us today for a property trash and recycling assessment online at caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. That's caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. Case Industries, the property manager's friend.
Hi, I'm Sandra Herrera, CEO of Case Industries. I've found that many employers are looking for ways to help the community but don't know how. I encourage you to consider supporting Abolition Radio as a corporate sponsor. Love Never Fails offers all the resources necessary to help young women and men overcome the trauma of exploitation and abuse. And that's why I'm proud to have Case Industries supporting Abolition Radio.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So many of you listened to our session 2 weeks ago with Jocelyn White and Kimberly Green and Susanna Martinez. We talked about the importance of prayer and the way in which Love Never Fails and IJM and many other organizations that are in this fight are undergirded with prayer, and that we really could not do what we're doing without it. And so just shifting gears a bit, although prayer is undergirding Project Look for Me all the way, but shifting just to understand about an event that's going on. So it's a transformation intercession conference. Is that right, Cyril? And this is something you're doing separate from Resilience. Is that right?
Yes. This is part of the ministry that my wife Jemima and I run. And as we all know, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that our nation needs prayer, with all the key issues that are going on in terms of the Supreme Court discussions that are ongoing currently, and the drought in California, the elections coming up, and the economy, the dollar stability, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. That's why we are putting together an all-day fasting and prayer. It will be hosted at Jubilee Christian Center Urgency Building. And George Otis Jr. will be the guest speaker. But most of the time, we're going to be actually praying for the different issues that the nation faces.
Okay. Awesome.
And, one can register. It's free registration. There is a website, TIC2015.com.
Wonderful. Yeah. So please do join us. Love Never Fails will be there. And I believe it's at the Jubilee Christian Center. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Convergent building.
Okay. Beautiful. So we'll be there. Thank you for highlighting that and being on the show, Cyril. And we really appreciate it. And thank you, Marie, for being here and for all that you do. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're just going to go through a couple of events that are going on in the community.
Yes. Cyril just definitely mentioned one of the main ones that we're going to be a part of on the 30th at Jubilee. But right now, as you're listening to this program today, we have a contest going on. We do not have a logo for Abolition Radio, and we are looking for those creative types to submit what you think our logo should be. And whether you do it for your company or for your nonprofit or whomever, or you just like to do that sort of thing, submit what you think our logo should be. And when we choose a winner, the winner will be announced, and we'll be able to if you have a company or a nonprofit or whatever, we will be advertising on our program. You will have, for future events, you will have free advertisement as a part of a thank you from us in that endeavor. On June 6th, June 7th, the first Sunday of the month, will be our Love Never Fails Action Network meeting. And it will be at Lift Ministries in Hayward, 22580 Grand Street there in Hayward.
Grand Street, yep.
And that's where, if you are interested in anything that you've heard us talk about on our shows, or you just want more information about the things we do, you get to hear and meet the various volunteers who are part of our leadership and other volunteers who are at that meeting. And so please come out to that once again on June 7th at Lift Ministries. The following week, there is a Moving Beyond Barriers and Back to Work at the Richmond Memorial Auditorium. And our very own Vanessa Scott will be receiving an award there for her work in the homeless community. And it is like the homeless leader of the year
Homeless
award.
advocacy.
Yeah, homeless advocacy.
Yeah.
So we're really proud of her.
Thank you.
And I'm excited about that. July 3rd at our annual Alameda County Fair, we will be having our annual Love Never Fails tour, and at 4:00. So come on out. I'm sure you'll be able to look on as for where in the fair on their advertisements. But
it'll be at the same stage we were at, the family. I can't remember the name, but it's at the same stage we were at last year.
Okay, and the year before.
Yeah.
In the family area, we'll be on the big stage in the family area.
Yeah.
You will hear us and you will find us there, and it's a lot of fun. So come on out and show your support and join us there at the Alameda County Fair. And later in August, also we'll be having a benefit concert at Templo de la Cruz in Hayward.
Yes.
So plenty of events, as usual, to come and be a part of with us.
Yeah. So other things that we want to make sure that you are aware of, right? So definitely, if you want to learn more about Love Never Fails, you can check out all of our programs on loveneverfailsus.com. You can also stay sort of connected to us, our day-to-day, by liking our page, Love Never Fails, on Facebook. We also have Abolition Radio on Facebook, and we have Project Look for Me on Facebook. So like those three pages, and you're going to get a different flavor, if you will, of an update. So if you are just sold out completely, like all three, if you only want one type of information and like only one, but we want to make sure that we have a place for everybody to connect with us in the way that they'd like. Also, we do have a Twitter feed, which is Love Never Fails 5. So you can tweet thoughts. You can follow us and stay abreast of everything that we're doing. And now we have a Vimeo page. Right. So Vimeo.com, and I believe just search for Love Never Fails Us. Love Never Fails Us. That's our channel. And you will see there our brand new, we have 4 PSAs that we have just launched this past week at Freedom Summit about a week and a half or so ago. And so four new PSAs. 2 of them are targeted at parents. One of them is targeted at just the sort of general population that might think that people want to be slaves and put in this kind of situation. And one of them is targeted at buyers. So please grab hold of those PSAs. They're 30 seconds long, really short and to the point, and they can be posted on your page to help be used as a vehicle for you to educate people in your midst. We're very big, as you all know, about just sort of empowering you to use your gifts and your interests. You don't have to, if you're a rocket scientist, then you may not be interested in making, Reese's peanut butter cake, or pie, right? But maybe you are. I don't know. But if you want to use your rocket scientist finesse to help us fight this fight, we welcome you to join us. And of course, if you haven't heard this from anybody else, we want to make sure that you know that you are loved.
Thanks for joining us this week on Abolition Radio. We trust that you've been inspired by these stories of hope and survival, and that you'll accept our challenge to get involved by contacting us at abolitionradio.org, by liking and sharing our page on Facebook, Facebook/Abolition Radio, or by making a contribution directly to Love Never Fails. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, which is a donor-supported, nonprofit ministry that Vanessa founded as a way of directly impacting the lives of young people who are trapped in or at risk of becoming involved in sex trafficking. This broadcast needs your involvement and support. To find out more, simply go to abolitionradio.org and click on Love Never Fails. Today's program was brought to you in part by Case Industries and with major support from the staff and membership and donors at Faith Fellowship Church. Our theme song, Courage to Believe, is by Justin McRoberts. Hear more about his passion for justice and art at justinmcroberts.com. Our audio engineer is Jarrell Martin, and this is Dave Naderhood. On behalf of Vanessa, Benita, and the whole team at Love Never Fails, thanks for listening, and thanks even more for taking action to help set captives free.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors, and the ones who still escape our eyes.